start. We are born again. Open your heart. Spend this time in your head.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I finally have Lindsey Murphy on my channel, and it's funny, it's taken us so long to do this because she's literally like a sister that lives too far away, and I cannot believe that we haven't like connected more. We're constantly like texting each other. Guess what? I found this out. So she's finally here. Hi, Lindsey.
Hey, Amy. Thank you so much for doing this today. It was kind of last minute to get this on the schedule, but I'm glad that it happened. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
We have kids, y'all. So many kids, and there's always something.
There is. There's the children, there's the neighbors with the lawn people, there's, scheduling and things falling through, and it's a good time. It's really fun to be flexible.
And people getting sick. Like neither Lindsey or I got a whole lot of sleep because we have tiny people and tiny humans get sick.
But because of coffee, today is possible.
And I just downed my last cup of coffee and I didn't take the time to make another one. I'm not entirely sure what's wrong with me.
That feels like a major misstep on your part.
I should text my husband and be like, make me a cup of coffee. See? I just made a video on how I like it.
I mean, listen, growing to love black plain coffee has been a game changer for me in such a way that I did not realize it would be. I started drinking coffee, I'm 38 now, so 13 years ago. And I mean, I was a late bloomer on the coffee front. My mom-in-law, my husband's mom, she would always drink coffee all the time. And one day she asked me, would you want to drink coffee with us, right? And I was like, and so I taste her coffee and I look at her and I go, I always wondered if burnt tires tasted the way they smell. She says, well, we haven't fixed it proper for you. I mean, this was back in the day whenever you would use the Coffee Mate powdered creamer and all of the sugar and all the things. So we finally figured out how Lindsey liked coffee. Really, it was just like a whole pile of creamer, like powdered creamer in coffee. And as I've sort of like grown in my health experience, it's finally gotten to a place where I'm like, just a plain old black cup of coffee is all I require now. Thank you. And going to Scotland, that made it so much easier to just, I'll just take an Americano, period. And it's great.
I'm not grown up yet. I have to grow up.
Not everybody grows up.
No.
And not everybody is, inclined toward that. Some people really require the other things to enjoy the coffee experience. I would mainline coffee if it was socially acceptable to go out with the IV and all the things.
Right. Yeah, totally. See,
for me, the black coffee has turned out pretty fantastical. So
I have to use my coffee to make me eat. But what? We'll talk about my issues here in a minute.
You just did a video talking about cold brew coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were going through the process, I was like, oh man, this takes me back 4 years because I started doing the cold brew coffee because my mom-in-law, my husband's mom, she started talking about how she was so sad because she was having to reduce her coffee intake. She was getting a lot of heartburn, acid reflux kind of things. So of course I researched like you do. I mean, doesn't everybody? And discovered that cold brew coffee was probably less acidic. And so I went on the line on the internets and bought this little guy. And I love the fact that you went through and just did the cold brew coffee without any additional parts or pieces. I tried doing that for probably about 3 months or so. And I was like, this is kind of a thing for me now. I think I'm going to go ahead and invest in the right tool for the job. I love gadgets. I love little tools. So I went and I bought the sieve and the lid, and I already had my half-gallon mason jars, and I just fill the thing up and I would make it. And people would say like how much to use for a coffee concentrate. And it confused me mightily why anybody would dilute the concentrate. But the acidity was so much lower. My mom-in-law, she got her own little her own little cold brew setup for herself, and she started doing it and she started to feel better. Now we discovered later down the road that it wasn't really the coffee that was causing the problem for her, and she got that all worked out. And so coffee is back in her life the way it once was. But I just thought it was funny that you tested out the cold brew coffee and it was the thing.
Right? I've never, and I'm pretty big on not wanting plastic exposure in my world.
Right.
And every time I made my coffee, I was like, well, this is the only thing, where the hot stuff is touching the plastic. I mean, I've reduced it quite a bit. And then when I was on that live and Briar Rose said something and I went, I really should do that. Darn it.
Yeah. Well, and like the Chemex for coffee, I feel like that's a solid route whenever you're just using like the unbleached paper filters and the ceramic and the glass and like the little special gooseneck kettle that's made of stainless steel. And I'm like, I really want to get a Chemex. But,
right? More gadgets and more things. That's why I was like, I honestly was thinking, okay, so I'm going to get this insert. I'm going to use it. No, because some people, one, can't afford it. Some people, two, hate gadgets that only do one thing. I mean, you could do tea or coffee, but I was like, no, let me just do this for the typical household. And we're going to go from here. So I will expand on my cold brew coffee adventure for sure. And now I know who to reach out to and be like, okay, so talk to me about this.
I don't know that I'm the best to reach out to, honestly, just because I like it so strong and undiluted, and it just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you water down coffee? And there was a pin on Pinterest, gosh, it must have been 8 or 9 years ago. And it was take your leftover coffee, pour it in an ice cube tray and put it in your freezer for your iced coffees later so it doesn't water it down. And I was like, I has a confused. What is leftover coffee? This does not, I don't understand the words coming out of your mouth. I've never been one to do the iced coffee. So, but yes, I tend to be very, very bold, very strong, very aggressive when it comes to the coffee. And I'm content with that.
But see, I'm okay with that. I would rather it be too strong because I can dilute it however much I want. I have a tea kettle, an electric tea kettle that I can set to boiling, put my cold coffee concentrate in there, pour in as much if I feel like diluting it. I know I'm a weakling. What can I say? But then I can adjust it. I'd rather it be too strong where I can adjust it versus too weak where I'm like, what am I going to do? Chew the coffee grounds while I'm trying to get more coffee out of because my weak coffee was sad.
Right. Yes. 100%. It's the same idea of cold weather is better than hot weather because you can put more layers on, but you can't peel your skin off.
I legitimately say that all summer long. I miss it being cold because then you could put more layers on. We could light a fire, but I cannot take my skin off.
Yes.
All summer long. However, you like the extremes. You like summer and winter, and I like spring and fall.
Right. Yeah. I don't do well with the mediocre temperatures.
But that's okay. I'll take them. And then you can take those ones. So see, we complete each other.
There we go. It's like a nice little puzzle piece that just fit right into place.
Exactly. So on that topic of puzzle pieces that fit nicely together.
Yes.
We're going to switch over to iodine now, people. I bet you are so super excited about this. I've got my bottles sitting right here so that I have visual.
I left mine in the cabinet and I'm almost through my 2%, so I can move up to my 20%. I don't know how I'm going to manage only getting a few drops in my electrolytes versus like, oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, let's do a little more. I don't see enough color change. It doesn't look like the indigo hue I would like.
So yes, I have to warn you, when you switch over to the 20%, it drops out of the dropper so much faster. So you go to do one drop and like 2 will come out and you're like, whoa, that is way more than I had intended on putting in there. So you might want to drop the iodine into the container first before you put anything else in there, just in case you overdo it. That's a word to the wise.
As an extremist, I don't understand overdo.
Well, okay, I'm going to throw this caveat out there for everyone who's like, how much is too much? Dr. Brownstein actually did say that anything over 1 gram here, people, gram of iodine
Which is 1,000 milligrams.
can be too much. Because one of the things you need to understand about iodine is that when you take it internally, it causes your cells to produce more hydrogen peroxide. So if you're making too much hydrogen peroxide, it will damage your cells in other ways. So don't overdo it. This is why you need to be careful. And if you can, work with an iodine literate doctor. This is not medical advice. We're just here to talk about our experiences.
Yes, 100%.
Yes. So Lindsey had heard that you can't put it in your coffee because it messes with the iodine. And I had not heard that. So I've been saying, oh, I put it in my coffee. And I had several people say, well, Lindsey Murphy said. And I was like, oh, good. I'm so glad that it's Lindsey because we can have a conversation about this and not argue about it.
That's right.
Because so many people would be like, no, my way is right. And I'm like, okay, seriously, let's just work together here.
No, not me.
No. So Lindsey and I have been going back and forth. Now, I am a part of the iodine workshop on Facebook. And in this group, you either have to have read Lynn Farrow's book, The Iodine Crisis, or Dr. Brownstein's book, Iodine.
You also have to be on Facebook.
You also have to be on Facebook, but that's okay, honey. We still love you. You don't have to. It's fine. Don't be on Facebook. I'm only there for work. I'm just telling you. Or Dr. Brownstein's book before you can even comment in this group, because they want you to have a basic information knowledge of iodine. So I have listened to or read Lynn's book 3 times, and I have read Dr. Brownstein's once, and never in either of these 2 books, which I consider to be some of the most important books on iodine, do they ever mention not putting it in coffee. And I'm like, okay, so if it's that big of a deal, wouldn't it be in these books? I don't understand, because there's a lot of misinformation on iodine in the whole world of worlds. So my husband has, where did it go? My husband has the periodic table app on his phone. So he looks
Any
up.
logical person would.
I just got it today. Sorry, I'm not very logical. Apparently, I'm just not catching up.
I was validating your husband. I wasn't saying that I had it because I'm not logical.
Okay, so in the periodic table app on the phone, you click on iodine, and it says a whole bunch of stuff. Like you have to scroll forever. And then down at the nuclear properties, it talks about a half-life of infinity and a lifetime of infinity. Talks about a bunch of stuff. Fire hazard, will not burn. Good to know. Health hazard. You ready for this? In the periodic table app on my phone. Extreme danger. See, this is the issue. There is so much misinformation, just like in our medical world, they tell you fat is extremely dangerous for your health because it clogs up your arteries.
You're like, wait a minute, that was paid for by Crisco back in the 1930s or 20s or whichever one it was.
So then if you read Lynn Farrow's book, you find out the history of iodine. And we all know that Ansel Keys started the whole keto conundrum issue. Well, guess what? Wolf and Chaikoff are the 2 doctors that screwed over iodine. They had a theory that iodine caused goiter. And so to prove this theory, they did experiments on rats. And at the end of this experiment, they didn't see, like the thyroid had gotten significantly smaller in all of them. So what did they do? They didn't even test it. And they declared themselves victorious. That was the end of it. That is the same thing that Ansel Keys did with absolutely no backing whatsoever that fat is dangerous. These 2 doctors did it with iodine. And then we took it the next step further. The medical community then decided that it was more beneficial for people to consume less iodine in their daily diet because then their medical scans will work better.
When I read that in the Iodine Crisis, I almost pulled out my hair. I thought, are you kidding me? Why?
Yeah.
Why are medical scans more important than overall health just so that they can see something better, just so that
Exactly.
they can do something more. I cannot.
Exactly. And follow the money to the sugar, and now follow all of the pharmaceuticals to
Yeah.
the iodine. So it's like there's so much to it.
Oh yeah. It's a very complicated spider web.
This is why you can't just Google something or read something online about iodine.
Yes.
Because periodic table here, people, it says it's not radioactive, but health hazard is extremely dangerous. Now, the radioactive stuff, yeah.
I was about to say.
Go ahead. Go on the tangent, girl.
Well, I was going to say that radioactive iodine can take the place of regular iodine in your cells, which can cause a lot of problems, and it will block the regular iodine from getting where it needs to be. So yes, in that respect and that respect alone, iodine is destructive. But if you're not taking and consuming radioactive iodine, plain old iodine is not going to do the things that radioactive does.
No, actually, it heals a lot of the things that radioactive iodine does. And in the event of a nuclear fallout, you're supposed to take 130 milligrams a day of potassium iodide because it floods your thyroid and all of your cells so that the radioactive iodine cannot find a place in there. So you cannot take the two and lump them together. It's like saying that trans fats and saturated fats are the same thing. They're not.
And they are not.
Exactly.
Totally molecularly different.
Yes. So the big question is, can you put iodine in coffee and not have it be affected? So I've been doing some research to the best of my ability, and I know it's a little bit difficult, but let me pull up what I found. Okay. So I pulled this up, and we're going to talk evaporation, and then we're going to talk sublimation too here, people. Okay, you ready for this? So we're going to talk about evaporation first. The claim is if you put iodine in your hot coffee, it's going to evaporate and you're not going to get it. Okay.
Which is what I thought, which is
exactly
what I read in an article that I cannot put my fingers on. And I question my memory on it with every stretch.
So it says that when the temperature gets to 113 degrees Celsius, so can you convert that to Fahrenheit for those of us who don't know Celsius?
That would be 235.4 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's just above the boiling point of water by about 23 degrees, 23 degrees.
That is when iodine melts from a solid state into a liquid state. Now, when melting is complete, the temperature resumes its rise until it gets to 184 degrees Celsius,
which is 363.2 Fahrenheit.
And at this point, the liquid begins to evaporate. So I don't know about you. I'm not a real big fan of molten coffee.
You know, I usually am not either, but I feel like my extremist heart would want to try anyway.
So now I've given Lindsey a personal challenge. Can you evaporate the iodine out of your coffee by boiling it for several minutes in a stew type to get rid of it? So I reached out to one of the admins of the iodine workshop on Facebook, and I was like, I need something concrete that I can refer to because I'm sick and tired of the misinformation in the keto space. I'm sick and tired of it in the iodine space because iodine is so incredibly important to us. I want to break this once and for all. So her response was, the scientific article that she's referring to says you would have to boil the liquid containing iodine for several minutes, like a stew, for it to lose some of its potency. Put the iodine in your coffee. It's fine. It's completely fine. Because for me, I stopped taking it because I was like, I'm going to put it in my water. I can't stand it in my water. I'm going to put it in my electrolytes. I can't drink too many electrolytes because I have a potassium imbalance. I get heart palpitations and my ankles swell. I didn't take my iodine for like 2 weeks, I was flipping exhausted. Everything was starting to hurt again. My brain fog was coming back. I said, forget it. I can feel a difference in my coffee. I'm putting it in my coffee. So
Right.
what's more important?
100% the way that your body feels is the most important factor. And I tell you what, whenever you and I started texting about this, I put out on my community tab, like, whoa, I read this. I'm confused by it. I can't find the thing anymore. Let's pump the brakes on this for just a minute. I don't know what I don't know. Let's dig further. And I love that aspect of science, that if you don't have concrete proof of something, the ability to go through and test your hypothesis and question what's going on here and then come to a different conclusion is always allowed. If like you go where the evidence goes, you don't just say, this is my premise and I need to prove this premise. I'm not like that at all. I would much rather know what the truth and reality is. I'm a seeker of truth. I want to know what the truth is. I don't care if my understanding of it is wrong. I'm happy to upgrade my understanding for the sake of truth. And so going through this exercise has been a lot of fun for me. I do love to dig into research. And I also kind of went on a little bit of a rabbit trail with the whole coffee and iodine piece, because I was starting to wonder, will caffeine create a problem with the iodine absorption? Because there are many people out there who get told by their doctors, here is your thyroid medication for hypothyroidism. Do not take it with coffee. Do not take it with food. Do not take it with these things, because that will inhibit the absorption. And I thought to myself, okay, thyroid and iodine are best buds, and we want to always pair them together. They have to sit together. They want to always be together. If you're drinking it in coffee, will caffeine scoop up iodine and sweep it away from thyroid? Is that happening? So I started investigating that a little bit, and the decision for me thus far with my cursory overview is, I don't know. And I don't think so, but I don't know.
My husband and I were talking about this earlier today as well. And I asked him, I said, what about the caffeine? And he goes, from what from what he can remember, and this is all just speculative here, people, I think caffeine is a pretty, what's the word he used? Pretty stable compound. It's going to take a lot to kind of mess with that. And if you throw some iodine in with it, because it's already pretty happy the way that it is, it's not going to be affected by the iodine.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, that's good.
Right? Okay. So there was that. Now, we all know what evaporation is. Water turns into, liquid, or into liquid. Water turns into liquid. Water turns into vapor. That's evaporation.
Yes.
Okay. Sublimation is when a solid skips the liquid state and goes straight to a gas state. So sublimating is something totally different. Because I don't know if you haven't read the Iodine Crisis, or if you haven't heard before that the iodine salt, the Umbrella Girl salt that none of us should be eating because it all has dextrose or maltodextrin in it. Don't eat it. Don't consume it.
Use it for science experiments, though. That's fun.
Yes, you should. Or weed killer. It works really well as weed killer too. That is said to have iodine in it. But if it's anything past 6 months past its manufacturing date, most of the iodine will have sublimated. Well, what does that mean? And is there a potential for our iodine to sublimate versus evaporate? Here's my understanding. Again, caveat, does not mean that it's the truth. This is what I have figured out to this point. What happens a lot of times is that salt is on a tanker and it's on its way across the ocean, and it's been 6 months since it's been produced, and the iodine sublimates out of it. Not all of the iodine, but a portion of the iodine has sublimated out of it. It's not boiling at 367 or whatever, 63 degrees. It's not that hot. It might be hot, but it's not that hot. So what happens is that is in a dry state. The iodine on the salt is in a dry state. One of the main reasons that this is the gold standard is it's in water. So when it's in water, it's not going to sublimate out of the water. And it's not going to evaporate unless you're boiling it and making a nice thick iodine stew with it. So what about the tablets? We've got these iodoral tablets that you can take if you have a problem taking that stuff. Then that would sublimate, right? It's encapsulated and it has a coating on it to prevent it from sublimating. So once again, unless you're drinking your coffee hotter than McDonald's serves it, please don't do that. You're good. And go by how you feel. If you feel better drinking it in, say, your electrolytes or your plain water than you do in coffee, then do it. Do what works for you. I had a friend of mine comment that she feels a notable difference when she drinks her iodine in her electrolytes. So let's talk about that for a minute. What could that be? Well, what's usually in our electrolytes? Magnesium, potassium, sodium, chloride, some other things. There's something called potassium iodide. Now, what happens if you add the iodine to your electrolytes? The potassium and the iodine may get together and make potassium iodide. So maybe that is interacting with her body in a different way. And that's why she feels the boost and feels even better. I think she's on a higher dose as well. So that could have something to do with it. But this is chemistry here. Like, there's so much more to it. And I'm sure that this is not the end all be all, but I have full confidence in putting my iodine into my coffee every morning now and drinking it down. What say you,
Yes.
Lindsey?
Well, I did have a commenter who is, I don't know if she is still an active nurse or if she is a former nurse, but she commented about the Redmond Relight, which I've got Relight and my iodine in here, the 2% Lugol's solution. And she said that she didn't want to put her iodine in with her electrolytes because of the chloride, because the chloride is in the halogen group, and periodic table, those halogens can all plug into those iodine receptors. So she had hesitations about that. And I've gotten to the place where, I always feel like Iron Man. And I say this often, I always feel like Iron Man, but I feel like the upgraded suit Iron Man whenever I have my iodine with my electrolytes. I don't recall the exact conversion of the 2% correlating with how many milligrams I'm getting with the number of drops I take. But at this point in the game, I'm taking between 8 and 16 drops a day of the 2%, which I'm sure that does get me over 50 milligrams, right?
So fantastic news, everybody. I'm going to share my screen in just a second.
Dear.
And I'm going to show you the Lugol calculator online. You ready for this? Give me just a second. I'll get set up. I'm going to share my screen now that I have it all pulled up. Share. There we go. This is the Lugol's calculator for iodine. The Dropulator is what it's called. Dropulator.com. So right here we have
precious.
the Lugol's strength percentage. So you said you're at 2%, right?
Yes, I'm finishing my 2% drops.
Okay, so at 2%, how many drops are you doing?
I am doing between 8 and 16 in my electrolytes. Oh, so I'm not even at 40 milligrams if I do all 16.
And say if you do 8, it shows you're about at 20, and then whoops, you're exactly at 40 if you're doing 16. And that's what 2 dropperfuls. Yeah, that's what 2 dropperfuls.
No, I actually count individual drops. And
Good.
It's like,
yeah. Some people are like, oh, I just do a whole dropperful. I'm like, I don't like that. I like to count.
Yeah. No, I count the individual drops. And then I have gone through and done an entire full dropper that was like almost all the way to the black cap portion. I should have brought mine over. And it kept my electrolyte water a very dark indigo purple color the whole time I drank it. And I thought, I don't remember ordering Gatorade. It felt like that Arctic purple looking Gatorade, the more bluish purple one, the dark one.
Yes.
And that particular day, the eye twitching was very prominent. But I backed off of doing that. And I have attempted doing the dropper under the tongue in
Ooh,
the
good.
past.
Mhm.
That was an exciting adventure. Let me tell you what.
Sucking on a mouthful of pennies. That's what that is.
I definitely do not advise other people to do that.
Ever.
But it was a wake up call from a mouth. That's for sure.
Exactly. So just for kicks and giggles here, everyone, the 20%, if you happen to be doing the 20%, one drop of that is actually 25 total milligrams. It's not 1-to-1, 20-to-20. And if you look down here, it actually breaks down 10 milligrams of iodine and 15 milligrams of iodide. So I'm gonna kill the sharing right now. So one of the reasons that Lugol's works so well and why we recommend it all the time, whether it's iodoral or if it's the liquid drops, it's because it is a blend. It's a blend of iodine and iodide because different parts of your body need different forms of iodine. And in nature, we would have found both in our natural habitat, whether it was from seafood or in the soil that was fertile with iodine, which is no longer fertile anymore. We have to supply it in these forms for our bodies to be able to use in certain ways. Your breasts are going to want some, your thyroid's going to want a different kind. Everything likes its own different blends of these two forms of iodine. So that's why we're always talking about the Lugols, which is not just straight iodine, but it is a combination of the two.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely love the Lugols. And I notice so many people ask, where do you get it? The 2% is so easily accessible on the Amazon. But the 20%, I've had numerous people ask me about that. And Amy is the one who told me that you had to go to the direct website in order to find that. So you definitely have to go to Lugol's to find 20% solution from what I could see.
Yeah, from what you've discovered. Yeah, lugolsnaturals.com, and I will link that down below. When we ordered, we were able to get in bulk because we have a million children. We always buy in bulk. Just recently, they started putting a cap of 1 bottle per order. And a lot of that was because of the war that's going on across the pond over there. Mm-hmm. So that is why they had to put a limit on it, because people started panic buying up all of the iodine. We bought our bulk before all of that happened. So I won't be claiming panic buying on my account.
Right. I also bought 3 bottles at one go right before they made that change because I wanted to get to free shipping. So I'm one of those people, like, if I don't have to pay for shipping and I get more product that I know that I like, I'm happy to buy more product that I like and just put it in my cabinet until it is time to go.
Exactly, because iodine has a half-life and a lifetime of infinity, at least according to that. And that's, if this can be believed. It also said it was extremely hazardous.
Yeah, it's a little questionable maybe, but we really like that word infinity.
Yeah, right? It goes right up there with your Iron Man suit.
Yes.
Man, you're going to last forever, girl.
I mean, I'd rather not, just personal preference. But
my mom and I have always said, I'm okay until I can't like walk and take care of myself anymore. And then I just want to go to sleep and not wake up again. And I'll be good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, wouldn't that be fantastic? But if you keep taking your iodine, then you may live exactly like that. And then one day you just don't wake up, and that'll be the extent of it. Right.
Sounds like a plan for me.
Right. That would be the nicest thing to do. Like, I'm like 99.5 and I just don't wake up,
I mean, like, if we could make it to triple digits, I would not be upset by it, but
as long as I'm still functioning, I can handle triple digits as long as I can still function well.
One of my great grandmothers, she lasted till 102, I think. And she was pretty well functioning up until the last year, I think. So
see, I can do that. I can totally get behind
that going for me for now.
Oh yeah. So now you have your goal, 102.
Or a threshold.
I love the way that this conversation turned. This is so very irritating. Oh my gosh.
Well, for me, everything is an extreme. Like, so the musical Annie Get Your Gun with Bernadette Peters, anything you can do, I can do better. That's kind of a low level motto that tends to go throughout my entire life. So,
Oh
like,
my gosh, I love it. Oh, and I totally forgot. We should go back to iodine for just a second before we move on. I want to make sure that everyone understands the salt loading protocol.
mm,
I did not take it seriously. I did not. I was like, yeah, I eat enough salt. I'm really heavy meat based. I eat enough salt. I don't need to salt load.
yes, you
Incorrect.
do.
Oh my gosh. So, especially if you're beginning to gain weight with taking iodine, because iodine sometimes does cause you to gain weight. I'm going to read something from the iodine workshop. There seems to be a lot of confusion over bromide and salt loading. The displaced bromide gets stored in fat cells. This leads to weight gain, bloating, and detox symptoms explained on page 204 of the Iodine Crisis by Lynn Farrell. In order to clear the bromide out of the fat cells and out of the body, the salt loading protocol is applied as part of the whole protocol on page 201. 1/4 teaspoon of unrefined salt, preferably Redmond's real salt, which I do finally have an affiliate code for, so that will also be down below in case you want to use that one, is dissolved in a 1/2 cup of warm water. It's actually important to have it as warm as you can handle it, and followed immediately by a large glass of clean water. The salt water picks up the bromide, and the clean water washes the salt water, carrying the bromide out of the body. As most of us have displaced bromide in our bodies, this is usually done twice a day to keep on top of detoxing your bromide. If the detox symptoms have built up and are causing a lot of discomfort, salt loading plus the clean water, this is the part I was leaving out, should be done every 30 to 45 minutes until copious urination begins and relief from symptoms is obtained, as explained on page 203. So, go ahead, Lindsay. Copious urination. This I did not take as seriously as I should have. I truly believed we eat enough salt, we're good. And me, I didn't want to overconsume water because I get too full too fast and then I won't eat. Here's the thing. If you're drinking that much water, it begins moving through your system very well, and it doesn't make me too full.
203.
203.
All the notes.
Right there.
Right there.
So for anyone who is unfamiliar, if you don't know what's going on with the salt loading, that is extremely important. I suggest you start doing it before you even take iodine or before you up your dose again. That would be the best way to stay on top of detoxing the bromide and keeping on top of your health. Because if you're beginning to gain weight, that's what's happening. The bromide is coming out and then whoop, going right into your fat stores. And that is, of course, not what we are going for here.
Now, you said that it was also associated with like the bloating and that sort of thing. So I get excited about stuff and I share it with my people and my friends. And one of my friends is also another YouTuber. I have several YouTube friends, which makes me feel so popular, even though I'm really not like that. Anyway, she and I Marco Polo back and forth on the Marco Polo app. And we were talking about the things and I was like, Brianna, you have to go and do these things. Like, go look into this. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm excited about. I feel like Iron Man upgraded. And so she looks into it and I said, but you got to also make sure to do the salt thing. And she is not a keto low carber. She is not anywhere in that realm. She is in the diet space, but she follows a totally different way of life. And I'm also that person that loves to watch all of the different diet options and just like understand the theories behind them. Always have been. Love that stuff, right? She started off in the Weight Watchers space. Now she's more of a macro counter. And so she was going through and she was like, that Redmond, because I had suggested like it tastes really good to me. I've also been keto for the past 6+ years. So my taste buds are clearly attuned to the low carb lifestyle. She said, oh my goodness, this stuff is so salty. Do I have to drink all of this? And I was like, well, I mean, you can get it however you want, but you do have to salt load in order to get the thing to flush the bromide, and I did not, or bromine. I'm sorry.
Bromine, either one. It's just missing one little.
Any of those forms of that particular halogen. So she was going through, and she was doing a live stream, and I was in the chat with her, and some people were saying, well, maybe your sodium is too high now that you've started drinking the Relight, and you've added in this iodine and this salt. It did not occur to me the whole bromine stuff like causing bloating. And she asked me directly, does the iodine cause bloating? And I was like, no. I mean, I went to Scotland for 10 or 11 days. I can't remember exactly like how time shifts with that time difference. So while I was over there, I brought a tiny vial of my iodine, but because we were so go, I didn't take the time to actually take the iodine on a daily basis. And I didn't have it for that whole period of time. I think I may have done it the first day that we got into Glasgow. And it was one of those situations where I felt more bloated, more full, more just like overloaded. And I knew a lot of it was the carbs, but I knew it was definitely not because of iodine, because there was nothing happening on the iodine front. And so I'm definitely going to Marco her as soon as we're done here and be like, oh, salt load protocol. We must.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've heard some people say, well, just drink electrolytes and it'll be fine. I don't know. It might be fine with the extra electrolytes because it's 1,000 milligrams of sodium right there. The question is, are you doing the salt water and then chasing it with the fresh water? And that's where if you're drinking the 20 ounces of electrolytes, you're not doing the chase.
Right. And I think that the process matters.
Mm-hmm.
For those things. Kind of whenever you're baking things, you don't want to do things too terribly out of order because the process helps the end result be what it is.
Yeah. And most of the time, you know me, I'm like, find what works for you, do it your way. Yeah, this isn't one of those do it your ways. This is, you kind of actually need to do it this way. It does make a difference. This is a little too scientific. So do the salt loading protocol correctly if you start having any symptoms, including bloating. Just warning.
Eye twitching.
The eye twitching. Oh my gosh, y'all. It was my right eye.
It's still my right eye.
For weeks. It was so annoying. But yeah, so mine eventually stopped. My leg cramp stopped. Everything else stopped. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah, for me, the only symptom that I have noticed is the eye twitch. And that's it, the right eye. That's the one. It says, I'm going to twitch for you now. And I'm like, I didn't ask for a show.
I'll tell my husband, look, my eye's twitching. And he'll look and it'll stop. I'm like, keep looking, it's going to start up again. And we will sit there and stare at each other for 30 seconds. And he goes,
what am I doing here?
Did you just want my attention? I'm like, no, it stopped. I was like, keep watching me. It's actually stopped. Just stand there, okay?
I think I can go back and I can look at different videos over the month of March because like I didn't actually start consuming the iodine until the beginning of March. So it was like pretty quick for me to go from zero understanding of iodine to a lot greater understanding and a lot greater consumption through taking the drops. And it started up pretty quickly with the eye twitching. And I didn't say a word to my husband because I knew the moment I said something to him, he would be like, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Why do you do these things? Don't you think these things cause a problem for you? And I'm like, yes, they cause problems, but that means there's a bigger problem.
Exactly. So I'm not saying iodine's for everybody. But I say, do your research. I say, start with Lynn Farrell's book, The Iodine Crisis. It is
most attainable, most understandable of them all, for sure.
And it brings it down to a level where it makes it personal.
Yes.
Iodine was stolen from us by these doctors. Health was stolen from us by these doctors. Same as the keto, carnivore space with Ansel Keys. It makes it personal. And like iodine was one of the first documented medicines. It was the first historically documented medicines. And now it's labeled extremely dangerous. It makes no sense. So start with that book. Lynn Farrow's book is fantastic. Now, I'm going to throw this out here as we probably get close to wrapping this up. I'm going to reach out to both Lynn Farrow and Dr. Brownstein. And I am going to try to get them to come onto my channel and be like, okay, I'm over here just by reading your books. We're talking a lot about iodine. So can you please come and direct us a little bit if there's something that we're missing?
Right.
No.
Well, the other thing is she talks a lot about having the cofactors with it, as far as like, you can't just take iodine and you can't just salt load. You need to understand where your individual body is at with things like selenium and zinc and those kinds of things. You cannot just say, well, I'm just going to take the iodine and just take my Redmond Relight and my life will be better. I mean, I have done that and my life is better, but also adding that selenium in and adding in those different pieces of the puzzle to really help round it out properly are so helpful.
Yes,
and you don't cause as much damage to yourself potentially.
Exactly, by
hopefully.
overproducing, hydrogen peroxide. So on the topic of selenium, I went and I bought Brazil nuts. And we eat 4 Brazil nuts every single day because that gives us anywhere from like 350 to 400 milligrams, micrograms. I think it might be micrograms. I can't remember.
Want me to look?
She's got it here, people. That gives me the appropriate amount for what we are supposed to be having when we are doing this. So I included Brazil nuts back into my diet. As far as the vitamin C, I highly recommend that you find a whole foods source. So like acerola cherry or camu. Do not go get ascorbic acid if at all possible. No. If you have to, I guess I'd rather you take that than nothing, but ascorbic acid, 1, is made from wheat. Number 2, it's nothing but the outer shell of the vitamin C molecule. Inside of vitamin C, there's actually 4 other components, including vitamin J, fun fact. But the outside, it's just the eggshell. It's just the orange peel. That's what ascorbic acid is. And most of the time it is made from wheat. So it's not a good product. I guess something's better than nothing if it's all you can get your hands on, but camu or acerola cherry, acerola, I don't know how to pronounce it. Those are the ones.
Just go with it.
Right? Either one. However, if you guys want to tell me how to actually say it, tell me down below in the comments. So
according to healthline.com, though, 1 Brazil nut contains approximately 96 micrograms of selenium. Yeah, selenium's not one that you need copious amounts of, the way we need to copiously urinate after salt loading. But it is definitely a cofactor that is necessary.
Yes. And then the companion nutrients, B2 and B3, I believe it's riboflavin and niacin, are the 2 that Dr. Brownstein prescribes to his patients while they are taking, actually before they begin taking iodine. He encourages them to take them for 2 weeks. He encourages them to take all the companion nutrients and salt load for 2 weeks before you even begin the iodine, because then your body is supported. But B2 and B3 are 2 of the B vitamins that he has noticed his patients have just so much of a better response to the iodine. Sometimes they'll be taking the iodine and nothing is happening until they add B2 and B3 in. And all of a sudden the heavens open up, their brain wakes up and everything works the way it's supposed to. If you are meat heavy keto, you may be getting enough of those vitamins through your food sources alone. But if you are not absorbing protein and you are having other conversion problems, you may find a benefit to supplementing some of this stuff. You're just going to have to get testing done with a doctor, an iodine literate doctor, if you can find one especially, or get other tests done to see how you are at absorbing those vitamins. So can you think of any, what were some of the other ones? Can you think of anything else?
Not off the top of my head. As you were talking about the B vitamins, I was like, does beef liver have both B2 and B3 in it? And it just has B2. It does not have B3 from what I can find in this few moments of looking it up. So my theory is always, oh, just add liver to it. So that is kind of my go-to technique. And I've got the meat grinder where we grind the liver into the meat and make the meatballs and all that jazz. But can't
Which
just
is
do that
funny.
with this one.
Yeah, I can't handle beef liver in any form or fashion. My throat literally physically closes up. And
I would die.
let me tell you. So I tried doing iodine in water and just downing it because I'm thinking I can't have it in my coffee, right? So I tried doing it in just water, and it didn't matter if it was a large amount of water or a small amount of water. I tried doing it as a shot. My throat closed off and it shot out my nose. My body does not play nice. There is no just choke it down with me. It literally, I can't even imagine beef liver shooting out my nose.
Listen, I'm gonna need some promises from you now.
Okay.
I'm gonna need Richard to film you consuming things from now on, just in case it comes out your nose.
Because Lindsey needs to see this. And then, it'll be one of my bloopers. I will gladly share that with you guys so you believe me when I say, no, I really can't do that. There's problem. I ruined a shirt because it ended up with iodine stains all down the front of it.
Oh,
Thinking as it was just a PJ shirt, but still was not good. No. So you find what works for you.
That's right.
In your coffee, put it in your coffee. And don't
it works in your electrolytes.
Yes.
Do your electrolytes. It does not matter.
No, take it however you need to take it. If you feel better when you're taking it, then do it. Understand the science behind what you're doing to support your body in this time. Because in this space, we're all just going for health, whatever that looks for. Carnivore, keto, low carb, high carb. If it looks good for you and it's working for you, you do you. I'm not here to judge you, and I know Lindsey isn't either.
Nope.
So thank you so much, guys, for coming and hanging out with us for this almost hour. And I know I turned on the recording at 10 minutes and it's at 1:06. So our Fab 4, we are going to go and record that on Friday. We're having another Fab 4 meeting. So, but that's what's next. We do that in 2 days? I think it's 2 days.
What's today? Today is Tuesday.
3 days.
Yeah, a few days. 3 days.
Yeah. So we're going to go. So much fun. I love my people. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming, and we will definitely do this again.
I'm down.
I have to go potty. Go potty.
Fortunately, your microphone cut out on that point.
I muted it.
Oh,
and then I was like, oh, this is going to be longer than it needs to be. Okay, fine. I'll just unmute it and I'll just edit this part out. Okay. Now back to recording, and she's just going to be noisy. I'm like, that is so loud. Come show me where the iodine stuff is. I'll cut this part out. All the stats you were telling me earlier.
Just click on the figure out table.
I did. I clicked on iodine. Now where is it?
What are you looking for?
The stats you were telling me about. Oh wow, you got to keep scrolling.
So here's that, and then here's that. You're looking for this stuff: nuclear properties and prevalence.
Okay.
And then anything else I got was off of the Wikipedia site.
The Wikipedia site. Okay. Thank you. Your daughter's in the bathroom, going to the bathroom. I know. She ran in here and I told her to go out, and she was like, I had to go potty. I was like,
I was downstairs.
You were downstairs in that bathroom. That's why. So much editing in this video. Oh my gosh. I never have to edit my videos this much.
I am a one-off kind of a person. Create all kinds of issues.
And no, it's not even you. It's my people this time. She left the door open. Oh my gosh. So, okay. So you convert Celsius to Fahrenheit for me.
Okay.
Go, you go get to that app, and then I'll do that. And then I'm going to kiss my husband real quick.
Ew.
PDA.
Love you.
I love you too, baby. Hang on.
Most people don't know what sublimation is.
I would know. I'm gonna get out of here.
CO2 is the best way to explain it.
Go, man. I love you.
Dry ice.
Most people don't know what sublimation is. Go. Okay. So pretty stable item. whatever, not element, a
Compound.
pretty stable molecule compound. Okay.
Okay.
This is so much fun. Oh my gosh. This is
We love
turning out,
calculators.
this is
I
turning
also
out to
had pulled
be-
up the actual structure of caffeine on my iPad
I knew you
as we were
would.
talking about it.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely knew you would. Okay. Let
Let's get to
me, come on. Thank you. There we go. Back to the Zoom. Okay. And I'll get try